also had a question about, I guess this is a question that relates to how everything is preordained, but somehow it feels that this spontaneous freedom is the highest truth. In a way, it feels that consciousness it's spontaneously free in every moment. And in another way, it feels like I am in a roller coaster which powers itself by itself, and I can be frightened or I can be enjoy the ride. But could you help me reach some sort of, I don't know, because they kind of seem like not really opposites, but I don't really know how to connect. Both of them seem to me true. That it's kind of like a roller coaster or a river or whatever metaphor you want to use. And in the same moment, it feels that there is total and absolute freedom as consciousness.
Yes. First, let's start with the manifestation, by which I mean the world, the body, the mind, everything that happens. Let's assume there is no relation between what happens at moment T0 and what happens the next moment, like a nanosecond later, at moment T1. 1 nanosecond later, there is absolutely no relation. No relation. What kind of experience would that be? Imagine you take a picture with a camera of whatever is happening at every moment, right? Every nanosecond you take a picture of the universe. And then you play the movie, and what do you get? Since each image has no relation whatsoever, in scientific word is correlation, has no correlation with the prior image. It's chaos. You see, there is no rules there. There is nothing. There is no repetition. There are no laws. It's chaos. In other words, there is no story. Absolute chaos. There is no story. It's like noise. Yeah. So it's not interesting. Right? It's not interesting. Let's take the opposite. The exact opposite of absolute chaos, what is it? It is something which is absolutely predictable.
Yeah.
Right? And the most predictable thing is something that doesn't change at all. Right? Right? So, the most predictable thing, the most deterministic thing is a frozen universe. But then there is no life, right? There is no movement. It's all frozen, all death. It's absolute death. Right?
Yeah.
So, there is no story there. There is no fun either, right? Because there is no life. So, in fact, what we need something in between these two, between absolute disorder and absolute order, if you will. or absolute chaos and a frozen universe. We need something in between, because we need evolution, we need change, so we have to go out of the frozen universe. But at the same time, we need some continuity between one moment and the next, so that we can have a story, right? That we can have a movement that we can follow, that we can have life. So we need to be in between. So how can that be achieved? What we need to achieve this, it cannot be completely frozen, previsible. In other words, we need to inject some new stuff from moment to moment, which injects flexibility in the process. It injects life in the process. But at the same time, we need a story, and as a result, we need an apparent correlation from moment to moment. So an apparent, and that's what the laws of science are. The laws of science are a way to formulate, using mathematics, patterns that repeat themselves. A law of nature is a pattern that repeats itself, that has been clearly identified, and that had been clearly modelized using mathematics, for instance. So we need this added flexibility that creates a story, that creates a fun, that creates a movement, that creates the life as we understand it. So how can that be achieved? The moment we have this apparent continuity, we have an apparent determinism. In other words, it seems that somehow the future is already contained in the present and in the past, that the future is the continuation of the past. But if it was predetermined, it would be like something which is a curve, right? But which is made of steel, a rigid curve, with no flexibility, you see? Whereas it has to be more like a bamboo, or like a... And what gives this flexibility is a constant influx of the new into the adventure. And that's why we love the new, because we recognize that the new comes from the source, comes from our true nature. That was children in their innocence. They like when something new happens. Oh, the neighbor has committed suicide. Oh, let's go there. You know, there are the cops, there are new, all kinds of cars in the street. Let's go there, you know what's going on. So we like the new. We like, so, this beautiful flexibility. But going back to the question about determinism, and determinism can be understood in two ways. One is that the past determines the future. No exception. That's usual determinism. The other part is this: no. There is an apparent determinism, but it has its limits. It has its exception, because God is free. God is never bound by her past decisions. It is simply preordained from a different place, which is not in time. Which is not in time. Determinism, everything is predetermined from the past, which is in time. what happens tomorrow is determined by what is today. And perhaps what was yesterday and the day before. But the further away it is in time, the least it seems to be determinative. The reality is that the new is injected from moment to moment. Everything is recreated from moment to moment. The past is created in the now. And the future is created in the now. With the illusion that the past existed and that the future will exist. But past and future are an illusion ultimately in the now.
Yeah.
So everything is preordained from a timeless place.
Because it's sometimes when enough time has passed from difficult events and we reflect upon our lives in the right kind of mood, it's like you're like, wow, I wouldn't have ever thought that what genius life is gave me those lessons, that early on, which enabled these certain things to happen. It seems to have a kind of grace. It's not like I agree with you. It's not. It's recreated constantly in the present moment, but as a story, it seems there is a greater intelligence also at work in how it all has unfolded.
Yes. And the past the mystical experience, if you will, is a recognition of such intelligence. And the path to wisdom is also the recognition that this intelligence emanates from our own consciousness. That our own consciousness is the source, and that we all share it. That requires the sacrifice of our pet project to be a separate entity. And it's in the mythology, the sacrifice of Abraham. Well, God asked him to offer his son. Symbolically, it's a person we believe to be. And we are asked for this person we believe to be, to die. And in this process, we don't want to do it, but because we are afraid of dying in this process, killing our child, our beloved, separate entity. But at some point, our love for God outweighs our fear. And we give our consent to the sacrifice. But at that moment, the child doesn't die. We simply discover our eternity. In the light of this eternity, all fears lose their foundation. And in the light of this immensity and totality, our desires lose their foundation.
There seems to be a gap between the clear recognition that there is only one reality, or what is known as the liberating glimpse. But either I am cheating myself, or there is a gap from the glimpse to the total emotional surrender. Because what you just said, it seems to me that the surrendering, the complete surrendering of this separate person, or even though it seems that the understanding is absolutely clear, there seems to be like an emotional resistance, that the surrender is somehow not wholly complete.
Yes, it's because we are reluctant to allow ourselves to feel in a way which is consistent with our understanding.
Exactly. Yeah.
But sooner or later, or incrementally, it will make sense for us, to us. Because the strength of the understanding is absolute. And as a result, the strength of the feelings is not commensurate with it. It's weaker.
Yeah. I had this metaphor that the difference for me seems to be like you have an electrical device and the plug was taken out of the wall, but it seems to have a battery mode. It goes into this battery mode. It still has the battery still has a charge on that device, and it's kind of keeps up with the antics, but there is some kind of, that there is not, on some level there is no worry because the understanding feels so clear, but the battery mode device is still, it still has this emotional charge and resistance that is felt in this system.
is that in a sense we are not allowing ourselves to be unlimited in all dimensions of our existence. We discover a dimension in which we are unlimited. But we still believe that with regard to other dimensions, it seems that we are limited. It seems to. And what is required is for us to go to these borders that we have not explored yet, to discover that they are not there. And the more we explore our infinity in all dimensions, you see, the more we enjoy this peace and this freedom. But what is important is to have recognized this infinity at least in one dimension. For some people, it's with intelligence, for others it's with love, for others, God knows what.
Yes. Thank you. That was a very clear answer.